Hello everybody, my name's Ken Riley and I welcome you to the next exciting video of the Origins of Gold, Part 4. In the last video we showed that all elements came from hydrogen, and the elements of hydrogen were compressed and fused together in the sun to make all the heavy elements we have on the Earth and all throughout the solar system. And we also discussed how those elements in the sun ended up in the Earth, Mars, all the different planets. We discussed the rifle bullet effect of a small dwarf sun moving through our solar system, our sun. And when it blew right through the center of it, it pulled out all the elements that we have on the Earth. But they're in the form of plasma gases, and they were spinning around and creating the planets by condensing plasma gases. Well, the plasma gases condensed into solid elements and water and everything. And contrary to what you heard, all the water and all the carbon and all the elements of the Earth did not come to the Earth on asteroids. Not at all. It's a stupid, idiot chimpanzee story. Those are the chimps making up stories again. No, all the elements that are here, most of them were already here. There are only a few trace elements, maybe iridium or something, that came in on asteroids, but that's not even proven either. I'm saying that all the elements here came from the sun. And the rifle shot effect of the small dwarf sun blowing through our sun pulled those elements out and condensed them into all of the planets we have. In fact, there was supposed to be one more planet between Mars and Jupiter, but it never formed. It actually kept on fragmenting. It didn't condense down into a planet, but in fact it was spread out as a huge halo of elemental gases, and they condensed into what we call the asteroid belt. But the asteroid belt should have been another planet, and the main difference we can see is the inner planets like Mercury, Venus, and Earth, and Mars are all small planets. There was a transition from small planets to very large planets, starting with Jupiter, between Mars and Jupiter, and that's where the asteroid belt is. Anyway, we won't get into that for now. What we're talking about is the origins of gold, and we're on part 4. So we just backtracked a little to show what we already covered. Now we're going to cover how the elements went from solidifying plasma gases into the solid and liquid elements we have today. Now the Earth, like we discussed, was a swirling mass of plasma gases. Everything was plasma gas. Uranium, gold, copper, everything had different layers of these plasma gases. The lighter ones on the outside and the heavier ones condensing to the inside. And as the plasma gases lost heat, they condensed down into solid or liquid forms. So as we see, everything, when it came to a state of almost condensing into solids, everything went from gas to liquid. And you know, from the oceans, if you have bubbles down on the bottom of the ocean bubbling up to the top, they don't stay on the bottom unless they're frozen crystals of methane or something. But once they turn into gases, they come up to the top. That's called displacement. The heavier the heavier liquid, the compressed oceans are actually a little heavier than what's at the top, because the top parts of the ocean contain a lot of gas, so they have less density, and the displacement says that the gases must rise up to the top. That's what makes hot air balloons float. It's that the gas within the balloon has less mass and greater displacement than the air around it, so it rises up to the top of the higher and higher in atmosphere, just like a bubble going up through water. We had the same thing going on the Earth as it began to change from gases to liquid. All the elements were in liquid form before they went to solid form. And as everything turned to liquids, all your later elements like aluminum, magnesium, anything that was light in nature, quartz, all of those in effect boiled up to the surface, just like the bubbles in the ocean. All the heavier elements stayed in the center and began to condense down into the core. Well, the core of the Earth, like we said, is composed of mostly iron and nickel, and it's still molten. Now, way back in time when the great scientists were saying, oh, we estimate the core to be about 7,000, 8,000 degrees, maybe 9,000, I said, no. Check it again. It's between 9,000 and 10,000 degrees. That's deductive reasoning. Well, just recently, the great scientists of the planet said, oh, we found out, we made new estimates. The core is between 9,000 and 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, they're just catching up, or maybe they're taking a few cues from people who really know, people who can figure this stuff out. Anyway, as things began to solidify from liquid to solid mass, they began to migrate the heavier things towards the center, the lighter things towards the outside. That's why we have today most of the Earth, the surface is covered by either aluminum oxide or magnesium oxide, titanium. Titanium is another one. Titanium oxide, quartz, like as in sand, sea sand. Now, as all this began to solidify or liquefy into water or solid rock, everything began to move into its own sphere, concentric sphere of material. And that includes everything: copper, gold, any of those things. The only things which did not follow the pattern, like I said, are your liquefied iron and nickel. That's your core. The core is composed of liquefied iron and nickel, and that's what keeps the heat of the Earth going. Some people theorize that there's uranium down there adding heat through decaying. It adds heat to the core. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. The core is pretty small. The crust of the Earth is like 20 miles thick, but then under that you have the core, so that makes up really the bulk of the planet, the molten core. But you don't have, like some people theorize, you don't have molten rock down there per se. Only what's next to the core is actually molten. And it doesn't take a lot of material to insulate the core from the crust. The most effective or efficient insulation is actually rock. That's what all insulation is gauged against, is certain feet, 1 foot, 2 feet of rock. That's like your R1, R2, R3, all that kind of stuff. And remember, My name is not Jeff. I am not Roger from Oz. I'm Ken from Copperland. And like I always tell you, gold turbine products that we're designing and building will it'll transform you magically. From a 90-pound gold panning weakling into a beast of a miner. Now, if you want to be a beast of a miner, you want to get that gold, stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to get it. So, take care. We'll see you out in the gold fields, and catch you next time on the next video. Bye for now.